How will you define product market fit?
Basically, is somebody's willing to pay for something over and over again, and not just solve a problem, but they're willing to pay to solve a problem, right? Over and over again.
Do you have a playbook that every time when you build something from scratch that you follow?
I think really in general, the reason why people do startups and stuff like that is to make money. So if making money is what you're trying to do, then you should start by doing a business that just generates cash flow. So once you're able to create the cash flow with the minimal amount of capital, then you can then start rolling the cash that you created into something that's bigger.
How do you know what to focus back then?
I would say that one thing that probably would help constant is that people is like really trying to make sure that the people are done right, because you know, you can build different processes, do this, do that, whatever. Yeah. But the people at the end of the day are the ones that will change during the different circumstances. So you need to find the right people and be with the right people and cut people out that are not great for the company and being willing to do that.
Welcome to our podcast. Today, we are joined by Hoyin, a serial entrepreneur behind ventures like Remo and Hermessi. In this episode, Hoyin shares his journey from building e-commerce brands to scaling two profitable businesses. He breaks down why he turned down multiple VC offers and how Remo grew 80x in just 10 months, reached over 2.24 million users, and became profitable in 4 months, all without outside funding. We also dive into the importance of cash flow for building a sustainable business, the value of having the right people around you, and how feedback from customers plays a critical role in shaping a better product. Plus, Hoyin reveals his strategies for hiring top talent, making the most out of limited resources, and standing out in a saturated market. Let's get into it. Hey Hoyin, thank you so much for being here today and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'm super excited to be on the podcast.
Hey, no worries, man. I've been following your journey for a super long time since COVID. And it's my honor to finally have you on board to the podcast to learn from you as well and your journey and some of the exciting ventures that you are doing right now. For those who don't know, Hoyin is serial entrepreneur. He basically co-founded Reno during COVID, I guess, and it's a virtual event platform that grew 30x in like 10 months, reached over 2.24 million users, and became profitable in 4 months, all without outside funding, and was acquired by events.com last year in October 2024. Now he's channeling all those lessons, into his current venture called Hermessi, and AI-augmented, executive assistant (EA), a leadership network designed to help founders and entrepreneurs, top executive triple their productivity while maintaining balance and well-being. Super excited to have you here today, Hoyin.
Fantastic.
Yeah, before we start, I just want to know, could you share more about your background, your backstory, and your journey of building Reno and Hermessi, or even some of the ventures before there? Because I see you've got so many things in your story.
Yeah, I mean, just a brief introduction. I started off just like everyone else, in college, and worked at a bioengineering tech company at the beginning. Didn't feel like that was a good fit for me, and then started working at banking and consulting for a while. And I did a few things before. Probably the first thing I did was I started an Amazon business with a few of my schoolmates, and one of the ones that kind of really broke out of 10 things we tried, only 2 or 3 things that really truly kind of got me main traction is a baby monitor brand that we still sell right now. And it's something where that was kind of my first sort of foray into marketing and how do you market a product, how to market yourself to consumer product on Amazon. Yeah, after that I had tried a bunch of things, some things that worked, some things that didn't. I tried a mobile marketing agency, was a CEO of that. I was also I created a social media SaaS product to sell to small media businesses. That worked. Scaled that. And then after that, then worked on Remo, which is the virtual event platform. And so those are kind of the highlights. Of course, there's a bunch of things that just didn't happen, and things that I've tried before, and either it's a timing issue or just couldn't find the product market fit. And but yeah, I mean, after Remo, as you said, it scaled really aggressively during COVID. Went from 10 people to 160 people in 10 months. And created a product that a lot of people really loved, and even still today, really like resonate with in terms of how you bring authentic conversations to virtual events and how to do that in a way that's really real and human. And and so it's kind of it's a brief intro, and then I sold Remo off, and so that's kind of where I'm at today.
Super amazing. I mean, like, I remember you built an 8-figure Amazon business even before like Reno. How does that venture actually, prepare you to build Reno, this global SaaS platform? Like, how do you transition from a e-commerce business to like a SaaS tech? Yeah.
They're all kind of linked together.
Yeah.
And the way how I kind of describe how they link together is really about, like, I did Amazon first, and I really was interested in marketing, and that's how I went into social media marketing. And then in social media marketing, I hired all my team remotely, and that's how I got into like virtual remote teams and creating Remo, because part of Remo is that for virtual remote teams, they really, really needed to have some sort of platform to remotely connect with each other.
Okay.
And so after creating that platform during the COVID pandemic, like, it really, people were just really excited instead of the virtual events that we hosted to promote the virtual office product. And so we found where the traction was, and we just pivoted into that traction. And then we pivoted into that 2019 of September 2019. And it was a pretty funny story. Like, in January, my wife was like, "Oh, where's this business going? This Remo business, what's going on with it? Can you tell me, give me a deadline?" I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll give you a deadline. By April of 2020, if it doesn't go anywhere, then I'll shut it down and I'll just do something else." And 2020 of March, that's when the pandemic came, and then just leads just started coming in. I did a lot of work before that in building the brand of Remo, which a lot of people are like, "Oh, brand building, that's something that's like, I don't really want to do. I don't see results from it, blah, blah, blah." And that was the first time where I realized, like, oh, wow, there's actually a lot of value to the brand. I did a lot of podcasts and coming up with brand marketing that positioned our brand, like Remo as a company, as one of the top 3 virtual events companies right before the pandemic. And that's how we got all our leads. When the timing was right.
I mean, let's wind back a bit, right? Like, how do you even validate this problem was real and even land your first customers when you started Remo? Because that was before COVID, right?
It was really about like the excitement that our customers had, and their willingness to pay. And it's just truly, like, I feel like when product market fit happens is when they're willing to pay, and willing to pay again and again and again. So right before the pandemic, we already started getting customers coming in and really interested in Remo, and they were already starting to pay. So I think the difference, or the key thing about it is, like, are we, product market is really difficult to get. I mean, it's really difficult to get and really difficult to determine. I would say that most of the time, when I even me myself, when I do things, most things don't have product market fit. Like, most things fail. Because if something didn't have product market fit, somebody's already doing it.
How will you define product market fit?
Basically, is somebody's willing to pay for something over and over again. And not just solve a problem, but they're willing to pay to solve a problem, right? Over and over again. Most of the time, most problems have already been solved. Most of them. So it's like, it's difficult to find a job where, like, a job to be done where no one is solved yet, or a new job to be done is very difficult. You're typically solving existing jobs. So that means your solution has to be way better than the existing solutions, right? And so usually the greatest sort of moments in startup history are when there's a huge technological change, like the internet, like mobile, like AI right now. So those are opportunities where you have a step function change in the delivery or the performance, or less cost, better performance of whatever it is that you're trying to do. So those kind of mark really like the great opportunities, because when there is no step function, then a lot of the stuff is a bit incremental. And then you're trying to chase what is the right trend that's kind of happening, and the timing of that trend, when things kind of like the right things kind of like come together. It's a really difficult thing to try to solve.
Crazy, man. I mean, do you mind sharing at this peak, like, what is your top revenue throughout the whole journey of building Remo?
top revenue. I mean, we were definitely well into eight figures. We were working on Remo well into eight figures.
That was like during COVID, 2022 or 23?
Yeah, throughout COVID. Yeah, throughout COVID, absolutely.
Do you mind? Because I believe a lot of people or founders, they are trying to bootstrap their companies, especially now, during this period. It's like it's freaking hard to get VC funding. A lot of founders would just, screw that. I would rather bootstrap it. I don't want to rely outside funding. I want full control, stuff like that. I just want to know more about your bootstrap journey, because it is very, very rare to have chance upon founder like you who bootstrap so many companies, previous ventures, and then Remo, and then now the EA company that you are running. Do you have a playbook that every time when you build something from scratch, right? Do you have a bootstrapping playbook that you follow, or framework that you have? Just want to get a sense of it.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's like I think startup is not so much about nowadays. Now I think about it, it's not so much about okay, I need to use technology to create some crazy business, interesting business, or and then get funding, all that kind of stuff. Like that is a game you could play, but I mean, at the end of the day, people kind of get that's the shiny object that you're gonna do, because that gives you like the greatest, biggest like potential gain, right? Like, oh, everyone can IPO and all that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is that most people don't make really big gains off of technology, like these tech-driven type of companies, and most of them actually fail. So, for me personally, like, I guess the question is like, why are you doing startups in general? And my kind of approach has changed a lot since the beginning, which is, I think really in general, the reason why people do startups and stuff like that is to make money, right? So if making money is what you're trying to do, then you should start by doing a business that just generates cash flow, which might mean that you don't create technology, you don't create an app, you don't create anything, or you spend the most minimal amount to do that, to create it. So I'll give you an example. Like when I was a social media marketing that product I created, what I did was I found a bunch of tools online that really helped me create a social media marketing company that could do everything automatically. So I didn't even have to write any code. I was able to use this tool and basically like deliver a much more better service than any of my other competitors. And what's funny is like you can do that now with AI. Like, you don't need to have create software to do that. You can just use AI to do a lot of this stuff, and deliver a much more better service. And all these things is that they just create cash flow. So once you're able to create the cash flow with the minimal amount of capital, then you can then start rolling the cash that you created into something that's bigger. And you just add on the next thing, and the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And all the things that I've done increase the amount of cash flow that I have to generate. And so what that means is that you sometimes you can just do really boring businesses, like businesses that are not necessarily super exciting, but we're able to apply technology and AI to it, for example. So I'll give you an example. Like one example is like vending machines, finding new apartments that are being built, right? And then offer your vending machine to them, allow the apartment to make money, and you install it for them, and then you fill in all the, you then like, you stock it yourself, all that kind of stuff. This is just a normal business, but it generates cash flow, right? So it's not exciting. It's really not exciting. And at the moment, this one's quite manual and it doesn't have too much technology. But that's just one example. There's like a lot of other things you can do. And once you've done that, the next step is like automate it. Like automate it or get someone else to do it. Because then you have a stable business. And then you can start taking that money and do something else. So when you're a startup person, you're really a business person. You're not a tech person trying to do tech stuff. Like that's, yes, you should. Yes, that's the dream. That's the high risk, high reward. Yeah. But you don't have to do that. And the other benefit of that is it's like, once you have enough businesses to drive your cash flow, then you can do whatever you want. You can then take even bigger risks. You spend even more money it's your own money, and that's how you bootstrap. Then you have a base. And even if that thing fails, you still have a business that's running, that's just generating cash flow. Arnold Schwarzenegger did that. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was in bodybuilding. But then he learned how to do real estate, and he started investing in real estate. In fact, when he was never a struggling actor, never. While he was trying to get Hollywood acting jobs, he actually was already a millionaire from real estate.
Here's a new info, yeah.
So to me, that's like the smart way to do it. Because like if you have a girlfriend or you have a wife or kids or stuff like that, and you start to have obligations, by having some sort of cash flow generation business, you have a hedge. So now you don't have the stress in terms of like, oh my gosh, like I don't know how to provide for my family or whatever financial obligations you have. You can deliver that but also taking risk, right? And the more cash flow you generate, the more to take those risks. Or you can invest. You can do whatever you want with that. So in general, like for me, it's like you're just a business person and just do business person like stuff. Like you don't have to do a tech startup. And in fact, I would encourage people to do a tech startup after you've developed solid business cash flow, because then you can have the time to slowly develop it, test different things, and then really truly explore it, rather than you have a runway of like 6 months or a year and then you get burnt out and you can't do it anymore, whatever. Like there's just, to me, a lot more benefits. And also once you have a business, it's much easier to hire people, command, get resources, like network. Like you just have more resources. You have more capacity as an individual to even do more stuff. So all the most richest people, the most richest businessmen, you think about it, are all bootstrapped. Most of them are, not all of them. Like, of course, now the new millionaires are not. The new trillionaires are billionaires are not. But a lot of the billionaires that like still made a lot of money, or they're not. They didn't raise any money. They did not raise any money.
Would you say that? Because I remember I asked you this question a few years ago, and you told me something that I still remember that, right? Which is before we build a software, always start with selling a service, getting the money in, the cash flow first before building the tech, the software layer. Would you say the same thing to the any other founders out there like that? Always start with doing something that don't scale first, maybe running an agency, providing services before building the software layer.
I mean, when you start a software company, like a lot of stuff you're doing is manual anyways. Not everything is going to be automated. You need to work out the kinks, right? So you got to work out the kinks manually. You can't work out the kinks by building with code. And that's the expensive way to do it. That's the very expensive way to do it. So it's best is to try, but obviously not every single tech product can be manually done, right? But with AI right now, there's a lot of things that you can do with AI. That's not expensive to build code, but you can like quickly build an MVP and test it. I mean, in my opinion, nowadays, like when you find product market fit, it's not really about the idea itself. It's not about the execution. It's not the idea, partially it's execution, but it's really the channel. Like how do you find the right customer? What's your go-to-market strategy, right? Like I think that's the really more important aspect of your business is do you have a channel? Like there's a famous saying that first-time founders focus on the product, second-time founders focus on channel distribution.
100%.
Because people realize that the product's isn't anything, you can't reach the customer.
Amazing. I mean, just to learn more about your journey in Remo, right? Because you literally grew this, during the pandemic, Remo's demand skyrocketed, I think, 1,300%.
Yeah.
Because of this sudden surge of users to your platform, do you face any like problems, or do you make certain mistakes that you couldn't handle the surge of demand, stuff like that, as you grew, because this surge was like, happening within like, I don't know, few days, few weeks during the pandemic?
Yeah, it's tons of problems. Our product kept failing.
Yeah.
Our products would fail, and I would like have event organizers get super pissed off at me.
Yeah.
People couldn't log in.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, like we messed up a lot because our product wasn't ready. And we had to scale very quickly. Made a lot of wrong decisions. People that weren't right for the company, weren't right for the right time. I didn't know who I was hiring that was really the right fit. Yeah, culture mistakes. Like just didn't create the right culture. That led to people burning out. Growing fast for fast's sake. Doing too many things. I mean, there's so many. There's so many challenges or mistakes that I've done. At the end of the day, the more money you have, that doesn't mean the more successful you are. The more money you have actually gives you more distractions because you want to try different things. Right? But the more things that you try, sometimes it's a bit distracting. There's more decision paralysis. So it's not about focus. focus on a few things and then give them a good shot and then try another thing. And then a lot of it is like in big waves, really big waves. You're just a small boat trying to make that wave.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. There's a lot of things actually cannot change the overall wave itself. You just have to know how to navigate that wave and not waste your time on things that really don't make an impact.
How do you know what to focus during that time when you have too much resources, you want to try different things, you hire too many people, and you realize, shit, I just did too many things. Like, how do you know what to focus back then?
It's hard, yeah. I mean, it's hard because back in the day, like, we were trying to continue to grow. We were trying to build the right processes and stuff. And so we were trying to build things that can be repeatable. I would say that one thing that probably would help constant is that people is like really trying to make sure that the people are done right, because, you could build skills, not build skills, but you can build different processes, do this, do that, whatever. Yeah. But the people at the end of the day are the ones that will change during the different circumstances. So you need to find the right people and be with the right people and cut people out that are not great for the company, and being willing to do that. It sounds pretty cliche, but honestly, that's the only thing that I felt was consistent throughout the whole thing, because you can scale up or down, right? So the only thing that can really affect is the quality of people who could like use their brain to think out of a situation, and having a good group of people who are motivated. Because if you don't have that group that's motivated and they all leave or they're not happy or whatever, then your a business becomes very frail, very fragile because of that.
You mentioned you hire some wrong people. Do you mind sharing more about one case where you hire the wrong person to your team, and maybe how did that affect your hiring decision after this?
Yeah, I mean, I hired a marketing person who just wasn't willing to get their hands dirty. Okay. Paid them a lot of money. Just wasn't the right fit.
Is that a top executive, like VP level? I don't know, or just
it's VP of marketing.
Okay.
It's VP of marketing reported to me.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't the right fit, and I just didn't know what was the right fit at that time in order to generate leads, and it just wasn't the right fit. I also hired a CRO that also didn't work out as well, because it just, again, wasn't the right fit. It wasn't entrepreneurial enough. I think those were probably like the two hires that I made the biggest mistakes on.
How did it change your hiring decision or criteria right now when you want to hire, another person in your company?
It depends on the stage, right? If you're on a really, really healthy scaling stage, you can probably hire someone who can optimize something that's already working. But if you're still trying to figure things out, then you don't want to hire these people yet. You want to hire someone who can constantly try and experiment and test and all that kind of stuff, get their hands dirty, that kind of thing. Has that sort of like that drive. And that drive could be somebody who's not as experienced. And I think that's fine. Because that's what you need.
Right. Is that something that you are applying in your current venture, Hermessi? When you hire,
Yeah. Somebody who's like very hands-on. It's somebody who I tend to hire people who are very hands-on and who aren't like super like too experienced. It's not the right stage yet.
I mean, that's the peak, right? I mean, you grew very fast. You get profitability in like 4 months and all this. Did any VC reach out to you actually during that period, that COVID period, when you got so much traction?
VCs?
Yeah, VCs.
Yeah. I had VCs reach out to me like almost every day.
Every day. Okay.
Yeah, I had so many people reach out to me that I had to like give them a list of questions to answer before I could hop on a call with them, because it was a lot of people kind of coming in, and I would, I said like, hey, really appreciate your time. I really want to get on a call with you, but if you could answer these questions for me, that'd be great, and hop on a call. So I was using that to kind of like screen interest and, trying to get people who were the right fit that I could talk to. So I did that. But that was a really rare thing. Like I don't know if I would ever experience that ever again.
Okay.
It was just like the right moment at that time. And I was super like, I think that's like a once in a lifetime thing. I don't know if I can get that again.
Wait, but you rejected like all of them during that period?
No. I interviewed. No, I weren't. I interviewed a bunch of them. Or they interviewed me. I talked to a whole bunch of them, and they were trying to figure out me. And a bunch of them thought that we were not the right fit for them, and then I thought some of them were not the right fit for me. And then we eventually did go down to a group of people that we really wanted to raise from. And at the end of the day, the decision was that like we just couldn't find the right fit for us, to be honest. those the right fit for us. The companies were the right fit for us, and we just ended up not deciding to go with any at that time.
Right. When you say right fit, you mean just couldn't find the investors that fit what you were looking for?
Yeah. We were looking for ones that really were really willing to really trying to help us. Ones that they weren't just for the money and the ownership. It was like other things, and people who were not going to derail the company too far. So we were looking for investors that are very, very founder friendly.
So after that period, because I imagine that, post-COVID, a lot of people, just went back to the office. Would that a drop in demand of using Remo after that post-COVID period?
Yes, there was some drop in demand. But we were very lucky. We found a bunch of use cases that really persisted and continued working for us. And so we found a bunch of niches that actually worked out. And so we doubled down on those areas that we found a lot of traction on, and then just continued to work on those areas. And that's the best kind of result for me because, I can then now actually build business. Because during COVID, it's kind of hard. It's not really, it's a reactionary business. It's a business reacting to what the world is going through. And then it wasn't until after COVID that we were actually building a true business where we would have customers that we were solving problems for that wasn't for something that was a very special event or a special period of time. So we were lucky. We were able to find some really great customers and customer segments and continue to kind of work up those segments.
Is that how you changed from remote work focus to, helping corporates organize events online?
No, we made that change before COVID. We made that change before COVID because that's where the traction was. And that's where I felt the market was more healthy, or the area that I felt was better rather than just remote office. Because we would be competing with people like Slack, productivity apps. And so I did not want to compete in that space. And it was also a very volume driven space as well. We had to do a lot of volume to make it work. And I just felt that wasn't a market that I wanted to be in.
Was that a toughest moment in your journey building Remo? Maybe a product flop, a team decision, or near death experience that you haven't talked about publicly before?
I think the toughest moment was as we were kind of adopting into what the new norm is, who are our customer segments? We were trying to find those customer segments. That journey from going from here to finding the customer segments was a very tough journey. And I would say that journey was the product market fit journey that every founder had to go through, except that we were doing it when things were normalizing, right? And that was really tough. That was extremely tough because the world was changing around us, and we were trying to find what was actually working and not working. And we hit a lot of dead ends. We had a lot of dead ends that just people were not continuing to buy and not working. But eventually did find a few segments. And that's where we thrived the most around. And once I found those segments, I felt super happy. But that was definitely, before finding them, that was definitely near death, because it was wow, I felt really kind of, just the process of product market fit and finding customers that will buy is just really hard. And we found a lot of customers that stopped buying and only found a few that would continue to buy, or a few niche types that would continue to buy. And so we still had to go through that process.
Well, I think this is interesting. Do you mind sharing more? How do you test different customer segment back then? And so this first. Second is, how do you know that you actually found the right customer segment, for your product?
Yeah, so there's a lot of customer interviews, obviously. And then we looked at a lot of product data. We looked at usage. We looked at what problems we were solving, and just asking a lot of questions, talking to customers a lot, and then figuring out and then just narrowing it down. And then also a lot of waiting, because you have to wait till customers renew. And then that kind of gives you the signal whether they're going to still use it or not. And so there's a lot of waiting as well, which is that's the excruciating part, because you have to wait. You can't just interview someone and then figure it out, because they might still cancel. So combined with renewal data and what we knew about that segment, we combine it together to kind of make assessments. And that's just an assessment, it's a judgment you have to make. That's semi-data driven. I mean, for me, it's you can't collect 100% of the data to make a decision. Because if you did that, then you're too late.
Yeah.
You have overexpended your resources to collect so much data. What you're supposed to do is collect, I don't know, 60 to 90% of the data, somewhere around that range, and then make a decision on imperfect data and make the right decision with that. That's what you're supposed to, that's what ideally is what you're going to do with the information you have on that day. And then, adjust accordingly, because you can't wait for 100% of the information. There's just no way. That's not going to happen realistically.
How many customers do you interview?
Yeah, I was talking to customers like 2 to 3 customers a day. Yeah, 2 to 3 customers a day. Yeah.
Okay.
Talking to customers is pretty important. I mean, like, that's probably one of the biggest things is, like, as a founder, like, there's your job to continue to talk to customers and talk to people.
And what kind of questions do you ask them? How do you know that they are not lying?
When you talk to people, like, I like to start, I'm using a lot of sort of approaches that are more psychological. There's similar techniques that interrogation techniques that CIA and FBI actually use.
All right.
I'll give you an example. Like, if someone's using like another product in their stack, for example, let's pretend Slack. Like,
okay.
Hey, I heard that Slack is amazing. I haven't used Slack yet, and I heard Slack is amazing. It's increasing your productivity and it's helping you blah blah blah. And I heard that Slack is amazing. You make a statement, not a question.
Okay. Okay.
And then, because it's a statement, you're not geared to put up your defenses. Because when I ask you a question is Slack being more productive for you? You immediately start to put up your defenses and say, oh yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's perfect. It's fine. But if you make a statement, then your defenses go down. And it's like you're trying to share what you actually know that might be contrary to that statement.
Wow. Okay.
And you might say like, oh no, what do you mean? Slack's all right. It's, I just don't like this feature. I don't like that. I don't like that. It's okay. I mean, I wish I could use another product, but I don't know another way.
Wow. Okay. So would that be different if I ask this another way? Maybe not a statement. Maybe, do you think Slack is useful, or have you used Slack before? So would that be different from the statement that you put out earlier?
It's a question, though. You're just asking a question.
Yeah.
So the whole point of what I'm saying is you don't ask a question.
Okay.
You say a statement. You make a crazy statement about something.
Yeah.
Either positive or negative. Whatever fits your fancy or what the goal of what you're trying to get out of that interview.
Yeah.
And then you try to extract information from there. And another way is like talking to people enough that asking them why they're doing things. Because everyone will say that their life is great. Most people say, yeah, it's great. It's fine. I don't want to change. Do you want to change? I don't want to.
Yeah.
A lot of times people won't share what their real problems are. Now, some people will. They'll be like, oh my God, I have this big problem right now. I'm trying to solve this, blah, blah, blah. But not everyone's like that. Not everyone will just volunteer that. Because they now know that if you volunteer that, they know that you might try to sell them on something. So you can't go around that route anymore. So you have to go around it through another way.
Right. So basically give a statement and then let them lower their defense to share what they truly think, and then keep asking them why they do something.
Yeah.
Super interesting. I mean, like, you scale Remo all the way, and then it got acquired by events.com last year in October 2024. What led you to consider this? Because exit acquisition is like the dream come true to many other founders out there, right? Besides IPO, stuff like that. So I'm just curious, like, what led you to consider this acquisition, right? And what are the lessons that you learned from this entire M&A process?
Yeah, I mean, I think Remo needs to be combined with in-person in order to be much bigger than it could be.
Yeah.
And so we were looking for a partner where I could definitely expand that vision more and kind of go into the next level of like online engagement. Because at the end of the day, we're an engagement tool. So we need access to customers. We need access to a much more broader sort of vision. And that's why I wanted to pair up and partner up with somebody who's like really good. And Invest.com is a really great sort of pairing for that. And that's why we kind of joined forces on that. And it's been very, very successful so far. Yeah, I mean, what I learned was, I think most sales companies that you sold are really relationship based. There are, of course, sometimes people will come in and they'll offer. Then the challenge is that do you trust them, right? You just don't know much about them, actually. It's like dating. Like, you don't know anybody and you're about to get married, and you just won't do that in your life. And that applies to selling the company too, especially if you have to continue working for them. If you don't, then okay, fine. Maybe you can be a little bit more looser on that definition, because then you're literally like it's like you're selling a car and then that's it, and you never see the car again. But most of the time people have to stay, then what you're doing is you're selling a car and they have to sit in the driver's seat with you in that car. So you have to sit with them the whole time. You have to think about what you're going to say to them and how you get along, all that stuff. So I would say like because of that, a lot of it is relationship based. For a long time, and so you need to spend a lot of time developing those relationships to get to that self. You have to spend a lot of time. I spent like 2 years developing that relationship.
Were they your customers when you knew them?
They were introduced to me by one of our agency partners that used our product and their product together.
Right. And after that, they reached out to you to share that they were interested to...
Yeah, we just talked and then try to figure out like whether we were the right fit or not. And then, over time we realized this is a good fit, and then we continue. So, as a founder, you have to have multiple conversations, right? Like you're dating, as if you're dating, right? You're dating and talking to multiple people on whatever dating app or whatever, like real life conversation you're having multiple conversations. So, before you commit. So it's the same thing. And you just have to spend a lot of time trying to figuring out, learning, and figuring if like they're the right fit for what you're trying to do and what they're trying to do and what the value is. It is at the end of the day a sales process. It's a sales process. So you have to treat it like that. You have to treat it like so.
One thing I realized that a lot of founders tend to get a bit too attached to their business that they don't want to let go, or maybe have their company acquire to move on to the next thing and stuff like that. And for you, what makes you decide that, okay, besides the strategic, of course, the acquirer, what makes you think that this is the right time to, have the company get acquired and then move on to the next thing? Is there like a moment that you think it's time to let go of your baby to someone else's to like continue running and growing that? Yeah.
I think I probably had that feeling.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that there's a limit of what I could potentially do to keep growing business. And when I felt that there was like a limit, then I realized that I myself alone can't keep on growing the business. I think that's the moment where I was like, you know what, I need help. I really need help. And I think that's like some people can get there, but I got there when I was like, here's my goal for me as a person, my financial goals. I'm not reaching that financial goal. Okay, so I need to figure out something to do with it. And I think that was when I started decoupling myself from the idea itself, from the idea of having the company's your own baby and all that kind of stuff. I think that's when I really started to go through that. And it's a hard process to go through, but it took me a long time, by the way. It wasn't something that just happened overnight. I mean, if you're not as goal oriented or your goals aren't that clear, it's probably very difficult to get to that conclusion. Much more difficult. Because then, you're just doing it out of passion. If you're doing it out of passion and you don't have a clear goal, then of course you'll never let go because it's your passion.
For you, it's very clear you have a financial goal that you want to hit.
Yeah. Over the years, I've started to clarify those goals over the years. And, I think it's just become very, very close to me that I need to do that. And I did not clarify these goals until I was like in my late 30s, early 30s. Prior to that, I was kind of like, hey, I just want to start a business. I just want to do this. So a lot of it was my own personal maturity as well, that I just wasn't mature enough to kind of think of it in that way. And I think partially was like, I did talk to a lot of people about it. And I also like read, looked at a lot of podcasts of what other like famous people were doing and just kind of learned from them too. And people who have like just learning what their experience was like and how they went through different stages of their lives. And I was like, oh yeah, this sounds like something that maybe I need to start thinking about too.
So how much did you get acquired for?
That's not publicly like released right now, so I can't share that. But
okay. So after Remo, you founded Hermessi, right, as your next venture to help executive with productivity and well-being. And I see that recently you have also been actively sharing about your thoughts on how AI can empower executive and leaders through AI-augmented executive EA or chief of staff services. I guess my question is, first thing, what makes you start Hermessi, right? Second is, how does this actually work in practice using AI and EA together? Yeah.
So when I was growing Remo really quickly, I realized that like there's a lot of things that I was doing. I was so busy. Like I had to hire an EA. And I actually had multiple VAs and EAs, and they all didn't work out in the past. And so I was like looking for someone who I could really rely on. Like it's kind of like the way how I kind of felt was like it was not easy to find someone who you could just like delegate and then you forget. You know what I mean? It just runs. You don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
And I found that really difficult to find people like that, like online. And so I was like, you know what? I want to create something where it's like someone who is a very high level, extremely talented person, fully trained person that can kind of be really, really proactive in terms of what you're doing. And these people do exist. It's just that they're very difficult to find. And then they need to be fully trained. And so it's sort of like set it and forget it, or delegate and forget it. And it just gets done. And so I wanted to create a service that really is super the best kind of service that can be offered to execs. And I also hired a chief of staff as well. And it's the same thing. Like a chief of staff experience is something that like allows someone to really, really go to the next level, because then they're now starting to access to leverage on somebody's talent to do more stuff, more capacity. And that solves a lot of problems that I had. So a lot of like my meeting problems, my health problems, my fitness problems, problems with sleep, problems with like just being late for meetings and not being productive, not making the right decisions. Like there's just so many issues when your head is just has so many different things. And so I wanted to give that amazing experience to other people, that to help other founders. And so that's the reason why I created Hermessi, is a way to show people that you can create an enormous amount of leverage just with one or two people that are really, really important, and just apply more leverage to a person. Yeah. And so what happens in practice is that we recruit all over the world. We only accept like 0.04% of people. Mm-hmm. So it's really difficult. We have our own recruiting process that's like inspired by like US Navy SEAL recruiting process. And then we have a 4-week training where we train people on all the most tech savvy sort of tools. So they're super tech savvy. How to use AI, chain of thought prompting. How do you use prompt frameworks? How do you, like most people are using AI just to rewrite stuff, paraphrase. Like that's okay. That's an okay use case, but that's not really what a lot of really pro, CEOs and people like yourself are using ChatGPT for.
Right.
So we train on that, and then we train them on like all these automation tools. So my kind of view upon AI and people is like AI just makes us more human. Like we shouldn't be doing all like the grunt work anyways, because it's boring and it's not really worth our time. Well, it's great. Then people have to be elevated to do more advanced stuff, and a lot of that is relationship. A lot of that is trying to be more human, doing things that a robot cannot do. And we as human beings are becoming more like curators. And so what ultimately these EAs and VAs have is maybe a squad of interns that they then go and review their work and curate and make sure that it is of high quality. Because as you know, AI is not 100%. Like it's some range between 70% correct to 95% correct, right? But you don't know that. Nobody knows that. But we don't have the time to go in and check it. So it is the EA VA's job to bridge that gap to go to 100%. And so in the age of AI, like I think the way how we think about what we're doing is it's a hybrid approach. It is a hybrid approach. It's not full AI. It's a hybrid approach today. And as AI gets better, we then tailor that approach and adjust it accordingly. But quality is the number one thing. Is how do you delegate and then it just gets done. And AI is not at that level yet. It just can't just automatically get everything done perfectly all the time. So it can help you accelerate that, but there is still a chance it can make mistakes. So that's kind of how we view that, is how do we be like the curator for CEOs. non-AI tasks and also tasks that can be augmented with AI.
This reminds me actually of a recent YC startup that I see. They claim that they are the AI chief of staff for companies and founders. And I'm not sure whether they are entirely automated, but do you see the future where, chief of staff or even EA, this kind of tasks would be entirely automated, like 100%, not even human in the loop?
I guess the question is time frame.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking about 10 years, then
Yeah.
I don't know. That's if you're talking about the next 2 years, I don't think so. I don't know if as of writing of June 9th, 2025, I think AI is starting to plateau right now until we see another step function of improvement. I don't know if you feel that, but I think AI is starting to reach its plateau. Like we're all kind of realizing what it can and cannot do.
Yes.
And unless there's another step function of intelligence that it can achieve, which I'm sure there will be, as of right now, I think it struggles to achieve the perfection that we need, especially at an executive level. Maybe at a lower level for a very specific specialist task, it can. I think it can absolutely do that. But I think, as they say, like a generalist AI, so for an EA or a chief of staff, you have to be a highly intelligent generalist AI, meaning you need to have mastered all of the individual tasks really, really well across everything. But right now, I feel like AI is very good at not maybe, 20, 30% of really specialized tasks. If you think of a chief of staff like an assistant, they're probably able to do, like hundreds of thousands of different types of tasks at a very high level because they can use intelligence to do it really well. But current AI is not intelligent. It's just really good at mimicking you, right? It's just really good at predicting what it thinks the human would like, but it's not actually thinking about it. You know what I mean?
No, this is interesting because I don't know whether you read that paper, but like recently Apple actually published a paper, right, about the illusion of thinking. That apparently a lot of those, state-of-the-art models out there, they are more of like memorizing, recognizing a pattern instead of actually thinking intelligently. I guess that's probably the bottleneck that you mentioned earlier, that AI has reached certain, unless we have another step function, like, I don't know. But yeah, this is interesting. Ever since you started Hermessi, what are the lessons or best practices that you carry over from scaling Remo last time into building Hermessi now? Do you apply any like learnings?
Yeah, like a lot of the cultural stuff, training, remote management, a lot of that stuff I carried over. Carried over a lot of like processes, like just developing processes. I carried over like a lot of the quality and the work that we were doing and trying to make sure that the quality is the same. I mimicked a lot of the go-to-market functions that we did, and I moved that over to Hermessi as well. There were a few things. Not like a lot, I wouldn't say, but the things I could definitely port over, I think I did. Because they're both remote companies, right? They're both remote.
Entirely remote?
Yeah, entirely remote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How big is the team now, by the way? Like Hermessi, including all the EA, VA, stuff like that, in your team?
Hermessi right now is about 15 people. 15. 1-5.
15, okay. I'm just thinking from a founder's perspective, right? Because apparently, I think your audience that you are serving is top execs or busy founders who are like, I don't know, maybe Series A and above, stuff like that. I'm just curious, what about those early stage founders who may not be so rich yet, but they're super busy, that they still want to outsource their tasks to some VA and EA? For those founders at that particular stage, what is your advice to them to delegate their tasks, to others?
I mean, like at the beginning, I think it's really important in terms of how you spend your time and how you where you kind of like focus your time on, and a lot of things you will probably be doing yourself, like admin tasks you're doing yourself. So how do you spend all that time and really focus on the things that matter, which is talking to customers and just kind of like thinking through the problem and everything, or getting leads, for example, creating repeatable systems for you to bring in leads. I think that's pretty much like a really core thing about doing this is. And I think because a lot of things when you're doing is really systems. And if you create a system, you just keep doing it every day, you'll get some kind of result. But if you don't create a system to do that, and you're not disciplined enough, then it's really difficult to kind of get to a point where it works. And as a founder, you get distracted a lot. And so that's why what EA does is to create those disciplined systems so that you can then not get too distracted and not keep on changing things around, giving it a good enough try, and then trying something different. And then being more systematic about it. Because that's ultimately really what affects like success. Is like, oh, you only work on something for like a few weeks and then that's it, you give up and you just try and try something else. Then you're just jumping around a lot. And that can be problematic for some people. Not everybody, but for some.
So would you say that as a founder, we should create a system, a workflow first, do it ourselves, achieve consistent result? Only when we reach the breaking point that, hey, I really don't have time to do it anymore, then I outsource, a VA or EA to help me follow the system, the workflow to do that.
Yeah, one is that it has to work. And number two is that, like for example, like I'm testing something right now where I'm reaching out to like 10 or 20 influencers. So I need to create a system to do that every single day. So I tell my EA to schedule this for me every day. 1 hour I do this every single day. I have to create content, so I spend like 1 hour like every Friday to record or do some sort of content. And so that's the type of consistency that you build. The thing is that like success is really boring. Success is doing the boring things, get yourself disciplined day in and day out, again and again and again and again, consistently. And that's boring. And most people just can't do that. It's very difficult to do that, to stay focused and keep doing that. Right? I think Michael Jordan and Shaq and all of them, they all say the same thing. To be great is to do the same thing over and over again every single day. And it's so boring. A lot of the greats would say that because they just have to work out. That's all they do. Just work out and just hone in their craft.
Just have to keep showing up, doing the hard work.
Keep pushing, yeah. And that's difficult for most people. And EA can help you with that.
Given what you know now, what's the final advice that you would give to founders who are bootstrapping their companies, hopefully to build a profitable and impactful company without sacrificing their personal health? What is your one advice that you give to this?
I think like everybody wants to do things that they like to do. And there's some things that everybody just likes to do things that they like to do. This might not be what is the right thing. And discipline is making you do the things that you're supposed to do, but you don't like to do. So for example, I sometimes don't like talking to customers because I like working on product, right? I'm a product person, but you have to talk to customers. I'm an engineer. I don't like talking to people, but you have to talk to customers. I'm a salesperson and I don't care about the details about the product or figure this and that out. But in order to sell better, I need to know those things. Justifying why you need to do those things, and those are the things that you need to do, and do them consistently is probably the hardest thing that a founder does. And if you are not good at it, then you have to figure out a way how to get it done. Either you get it done or you have to pay someone else to get it done.
Okay.
Right? So the work has to be done. It's just who's doing it. Then the question is who's doing it, right? So that's where leverage comes in. How do you leverage your time, leverage other people's expertise, or finding the right co-founder or whatever it is to get to success? And in general, there's a certain amount of things that you have to do in order to get there.
So basically, prioritize the right things to do, even though you don't feel like doing that. Just do that.
Or you're not the right person. Or you're not the right person. You have to find someone in order to do those right things. I met so many engineers, and they're like, yeah, I'm an engineer. I just want to write code, which makes sense, right? They're not somebody who goes out and sells. Okay, well, then you need to figure out how to get that part done.
Do you see that as a common mistake that a lot of founders make by doing the things that they like, but not the things that they are supposed to do?
I mean, it's very natural, right? Because everyone sort of like has like a founder like archetype, right? Everyone typically starts off from one part of the business. They don't do all different parts. That's why you need 2-3 founders ideally. So then it's kind of everyone kind of does a certain thing. But then if you can't find a co-founder or somebody who's in it with you, then you either pay for it or you struggle. And then that's where a lot of people struggle. Now, because I created cash flow for my business, I could pay people.
So this goes back to all the way to,
go back all the way back to cash flow. Because then you have cash flow, then I hired my CTO. I didn't have to make him a co-founder. Then I made him do the things that I could not do and I would not want to learn how to do instead with money. And that's the freedom that you get. That's the freedom that you get. Because then you have to raise money to get that. But if you raise money, then are you a good person to raise money for them? Do you have enough friends and family to raise that money? Then that's the question. Then that becomes, then it's like another skill that are you skillful at doing, right?
Yeah. So it all goes back to, having healthy cash flow, generating money. With money, you can basically do a lot of other things. I was saying, finding the right people to do the things that maybe you are not good at.
Finding cash flow is anything. Selling digital goods, selling stuff on Etsy, I don't care. Like just whatever it is that you're comfortable with in selling a product that people need right now. It could be a copycat of somebody else's product. It could be incremental, but you find your edge in doing it. It's just like, learning how to do real estate and just doing real estate, like flipping houses or some shit. Like, just choose the game that you want to play and then just play that game.
What about those people who, let's say an engineer, right, is very good at coding, but they are not good at, talking to customers or finding sales? What would you say to them for those people who are simply just not good at selling, but they have to sell to get the money in, right, to build their business? Like, what would you say to these people?
I mean, if you're an engineer at the end of the day, like you still have to solve a good problem, right? So you have to find a problem that maybe somebody else has created, and you can create that, and the go-to-market is relatively easy, maybe. Or you can sell services, something that can, ideally is a service that you don't have to spend too much time on, but it gives you a lot of cash for. Then you don't have to spend so much time on it. So, and then, I think there's a lot of ways you can kind of, I think engineering has a lot more options, to be honest, to kind of just generate cash flow. Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Well, I mean, thanks so much for sharing, man. Really appreciate that. I think it is so inspiring to learn how you build and scale Remo now, and you are doing something similar to build and scale Hermessi now. And I see the common pattern, right? Because both of these ventures is all about human connection. And it all boils down to your mission, I suppose, right? To connecting human, have meaningful relationship and stuff like that. And with the help of AI, people can do lots more and just use AI to automate some tasks today.
I agree. I mean, AI is a boon for us. Like, I think AI is it's going to be one of the better things that happen to us as human beings, because I think, like, despite what other people think there's dystopian futures, but I think it will bring us closer. I think humans are, and we are animalistic at the end of the day, and it is our animalistic nature to connect and socialize. It is in our nature to do that, right? So you can't just create worlds. If me as a human being can detect that this is not real, then it's not real, right? Then there's no amount of virtual reality that's going to help me to solve that. It might be a solution for some people. Those people are the same people that were kind of disengaged from society anyways, right? So, there's plenty of people that are, not on social media that much. There's just too much social media is also not good for you. It's just like anything. Too much of drinking is not good for you. Too much of anything else is not good for you. But the challenge is that we have a lot more distractions now than we were in the 17th century. That's for sure. But I still think that the core of things are the same.
Would you incorporate AI in your company, Hermessi? Probably.
Yeah, I mean, right now we are. We're just using it from an application level, and we're just applying it, right? But in terms of creating AI, yeah, there's definitely pathways to that. And this is one of the things that is on my mind that we could potentially implement. But I'm not too much in a hurry to implement it, because right now, there's a lot of AI applications out there, but some of them are working and a lot of them are not. So AI still has a lot to prove. I mean, it's still early days for AI. This is like a website in the 90s. They had pets.com. They had pets, selling pets, food and stuff like that back in the day. They've all failed because the website looked shit. The websites were shit and nobody was using the internet. Not that many people were using the internet. So of course it didn't work. We're going through the exact same process right now. So there's really no rush.
Okay, before we end this, can you let me know where do people can find you online if maybe they want to follow up with you on something or ask you something? Yeah, what's the best channel?
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah, Instagram as well.
Okay.
I can give it to you in the show notes.
Okay. Sure. And how can our listeners be useful to you?
Yeah, I mean, check out Hermessi.
Yeah,
Check it out and see if it's like the right fit for you. Check out see if the content's right fit for you. I talk a lot about founders and about AI and ChatGPT and how to make the most out of it and, um, and stay human.
definitely check out Hoyin's LinkedIn post. I've been following his posts, always insightful. And anyway, thanks so much for sharing, man. Appreciate your time here. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evan.
Thank you. Bye.